Hello and welcome. The tone of the video today may be a little bit different because I just got hit by something that sent me reeling, and unto itself it's not a good thing. But moreover, it's the fact that it had me reeling into the past and finding myself concerned about what lies ahead and feeling stretched very thin between the past, the present, and the future, and feeling like I was getting a bit fragmented by it. I couldn't consolidate into one singular, lucid point of response. And it's important to review the fact that when we ruminate over things in the past, that's what leads to us feeling down and helpless. And when we worry about things that haven't transpired yet, that's what makes us feel anxious and helpless. And I don't really like feeling helpless. I like feeling like I at least have some ground under me or some sort of a bar I could grab for, something to stabilize myself at times when the waves are breaking over me. And I also want to highlight the fact that that's why I do this. This is why I feel so passionate about developing mental fitness and helping other people to do the same, because we're not taught these skills. We're not properly equipped before we're let loose in the big world. And then we're surprised when we find ourselves out beyond our depth. And maybe this doesn't make Olympic swimmers of any of us, but at least we can all be equipped with some swimmies for the times when the big waves start kicking off. And yeah, I just got hit by one. And so I thought maybe I'd do this as something more akin to a worked example and describe what the experience has been, that it wasn't just getting struck by the thing in the present moment. It was finding that there was a fear in me that started thinking in fast forward and not quite catastrophizing, but running down the potential outcomes that could lie ahead and doing it in a worried way. It wasn't from a quiet, objective place, and I wasn't quite hijacked into some sort of black and white thinking, but I was moving in that direction, and I had to pull myself back, and then I felt like I was falling backward at the same time into an experience that was very much like this in the past, and remembering the particulars of that and trying to map off of that. And that's what our minds do. They take past experience and say, what happened last time? How did that work out? What were the steps we took that were advantageous? What were the pitfalls? How did we navigate around them or get ourselves out of them, having fallen into them? There's great value in looking into the past, but I was having an emotional response. I was having a lot of the same feelings I'd had the last time I found myself here, and it felt like I was falling backward into a dark pool, and I had to kind of pull forward, and I felt like I was rocking between the past and the future and not able to get centered and get my stance, and whatever's happening, I need a solid stance under me to meet it. I'm not going to be as effective as I want or maybe required to be if I can't get the ground under me. And that's why I believe that training in way of develop this way of developing mindset and approaching things and practicing when we're given low stakes opportunities to deal with challenges, that's a chance to build the skills and to condition the responses so that even though, truth be told, this is really hard on me right now, I was able to identify what was happening and know where I needed to orient to. I couldn't go chasing down the future I can't see. I can't go back to a past that's done and finished. I can only really be here. And so my orientation was just to being present. And I probably took a better part of an hour just trying to find my center, just trying to level. And I got to a place where I felt consolidated enough that I realized I didn't want to be alone with it. And I'm kind of like a wounded animal. I get hurt, I want to retreat to a shrub somewhere and like lick my wounds alone. But there's certain things I know it's not good for me to be alone with. And once I could actually kind of get myself leveled out, I decided to reach out and talk with a friend briefly, just to feel connected and to have to pull outside of my own inner narrative and share a little bit about what was going on and why it was affecting me, and let somebody reflect back to me that, it's probably going to be okay, and, you're not alone in this, and it's it's still early in the game and you don't know what happens next. And right, just to have that reflected to me helped me to ground that and really make it feed into the system correctly. It was like a live wire, and this grounded it so the electricity would flow into the grid and function properly. And so even if you're kind of inclined to withdrawing and handling things solo, there are times that reaching out to another person can really help to bring us into a state that allows us to do more for ourselves. It's not outsourcing our work, it's just having that force that helps us to center and to find that ground and to be able to stand on it. And it doesn't make things not scary or difficult, but it makes us able to meet that challenge. And that's the point of developing our thinking, understanding what is and isn't for us, developing a better picture of our values and our priorities, and learning to live in a way that's consistent with that, and really having the ability to know where we need to be when everything goes sideways. And being able to hit my mark today has kept me very present despite the pull on both sides to fall into the past or, worry myself into the future. I can just sit here and be with the discomfort and have the thoughts about it, clear the noise around it, and give the concerns their due attention. This is another part of it. It's not about suppressing it. It's about saying, okay, but if we're going to have this conversation, we all need to settle down, sit at the table, and speak in calm, civil tones. We can't come in here crazy-eyed, waving our hands and being like, this is going to happen. Remember how bad it was in the past? And then the past being like, yeah, we don't want to do that again. You're not going back there. We're not, right? These parts of us kick off and you got to say, okay, cool. Good points. Let's sit down and have a real discussion. And in that, have an objective evaluation of what's going on and really try to hold a clear picture of that, because we tend to add a lot to whatever troubles we have. Whatever trouble it is, we add to it. And if we can sit down and whittle away at the excess until we're at that like central nugget of the whole thing and work with that, that's much more manageable than this wild cloud we build around it of all our fears and memories and everything else. And I think that this is really thanks to me just practicing and practicing at this in both low and high stakes scenarios. This is some real life stuff. You can't learn it academically and then just go out cold and expect it to work. There is an academic component, reasoning through this, trying to identify what are the things that work, what are the different areas that need attention, how do the tools we have apply in broader or more specific ways. Cool. It's great to have that academic element, but it's also about getting out and applying the knowledge. And you gotta kind of get out there and get messy. You gotta get it wrong sometimes, but keep practicing, keep finding those parts that need to be heard and listen to them without all the other noise. Don't shush them, don't outrun them, don't yell some other argument against them. It's you can't negotiate with what it is, but you can sit and engage with it and learn from it and give it its due, and you can work to orient to the present where you can do that. That's all I could do today. I felt really struck, and I knew I had to go find that center. And once I found it, the next step was to reach out to have somebody there in the foxhole with me for a minute, that I don't feel that existential isolation of being alone with something. And I think a lot more people these days struggle with that because we don't have the same family systems or communities or sense of belonging. We don't stay at a job for a lifetime anymore. It's, 5 years here, 5 years there. And so we don't have those connections at work. We've lost a lot of that. And so we, one, really need to be able to turn and rely on ourselves when that wave is first breaking. And two, we've got to find people who we can just turn to and say, I'm having a rough time. Can you just be there? And this is something we can do for each other. Sometimes just being there is the thing, to be like, okay, I'm here. It's not about fixing it. It's not about trying to reason with the person or anything. Just be there. And we need to have people in our lives who can do that for us, because it is a lot harder to do it when we're completely out here spinning on our own. However, if we develop the skills and we really do find ourselves without that, we still are going to be leaps and bounds ahead of where we would be if all we did was rely on others and that safety net fell out. We'd have nothing. So it's a matter of personal protection, right? It's self-protection to say, I'm going to make sure that when these moments arise, and I don't even expect them to hit me that hard, I can still hold my own space and be present with what's happening and respond to it effectively and make whatever moves are required. In some cases, I'll have a situation where reaching out may not be the answer for me. Maybe at that point, I need to do something physical or be in the fresh air, just out under the big sky, right? But to know that there are steps, and to have practiced in different scenarios, and to have been attentive to what works. So this is some of where I see all the talk come to action, and it reminds me of why I am passionate about understanding this, developing my thinking, creating ways of sharing it, and hoping that I connect to people who can benefit from this, because gathering these different tools from so many different sources across the years has been not only transformational, but it's completely redefined how I experience things in the moment as it's happening. And that's where life is. That's where it all really happens. And if we're not there, we're not really living. We got to be able to find our way to that place where the good, the bad, and the ugly cohabitate in accord. And so here I am with some of the bad and the ugly, trying to keep good accord, and feeling very grateful for all the people who've contributed to my skill sets that I could apply today. And I hope to distill from all of that something that I can pass on to you guys. And I've been thinking about talking more about why we need these skills. What are some of the things that bring us to the place where we realize how much we need to heal and learn and grow? And perhaps if that's something that's of interest, could leave a comment below and talk a little more about some of the things that got us into these dark places where we need these skills, because there's no free ride. We're all going to have those encounters, those moments, and one just came up for me today, and that helps too. It helps me so much to realize that this is just my number coming up, that I'm in a bad situation now because it's my turn. Like, I gotta pay the bill. I talk about how many wonderful things there are in this world and how grateful I am to enjoy them. This is the cost of admission. We have some tough times, and it doesn't mean everything's going wrong. I felt that too. That was another thing came up. I've been working really hard to build myself up, especially in terms of developing my fitness physically. I'm talking about mental fitness. You cannot have mental fitness if you don't have some degree of physical fitness, and you can't be really physically fit in a useful way if you're not reasonably fit in your mind, right? We're not going to get up and make the good choices that give us healthy bodies if we're not sound of mind, and we're not going to feel sound of mind if we're not in healthy bodies. So I've been putting a lot of work into developing that side of the shop, and it kind of struck me that I'm like, here I'm doing so much good for myself. I'm building in new dimensions and new directions and building on so many things that I've been laying groundwork for, and I feel like I just got hit with something that sort of derails me and sets me back. And I'm like, no, it's just that there's one more element I have to manage in these processes of going forward. And the more I can manage the reins on all of that, the farther it can carry me and the greater strength I'll have. This is an opportunity to develop my abilities to another level of saying, okay, now do it under fire like this. And if you come out the other side, then you have the knowledge of how to do it and that you can do it. And that's what gives me some sense of optimism at this point as I look at so many things I've come through. I'm like, all the things you've come through, you think this is the one that's going to drop kick you? Like, it's not. It's going to be okay, even if it doesn't feel okay. And it's okay that it doesn't feel okay. It's okay that I'm having a hard time with this. I come out and talk about how these things are empowering and how I've had success with it. Understand, I've only learned this because of all the not success I've had prior. And I just really want to share that. And I hope that something in here helps you can see how when the waves are breaking, we still have some power, we still have options. And if we develop our knowledge and our skills and build strength over time, and we just are so conditioned to it that when it hits, you fall back on your training. That's why people in the military, police forces, right? These people, they drill and they drill and they drill because when it really happens, it's not choreographed. There's no timeout. Life just happens and it's on and you've got to move and respond to it. And I would encourage us all to continue to develop that conditioning so that when these moments come where we're not just floored by it, we don't blow out in three directions and do some crazy stuff, acting out and doing regrettable things. We hold ourselves and we, instead of saying, well, hell with it, it's all broken, say, okay, this is going to require more of me. What resources do I have to give to it? Because you'll see people and they'll break down. They'll be like, that's it, I'm going out on a bender, or doing some crazy thing that's not beneficial, that is costly. And it's with this idea that, like, well, I did everything right and now it's falling apart. Slow down. There's another challenge. It requires more resources. And the job at hand is to gather those resources and figure out how to apply them, that we are equipped to continue on with one more element in play. And so this is how I coach myself through these moments. And again, I hope it's of some value to you. And as always, I thank you for coming along, and I hope you don't need to apply this knowledge anytime soon, that there's much more good news coming your way than difficult challenges, but better to be equipped, yes? All right. Thanks so much again. I look forward to seeing you in the next round. Take care.